Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video, I want to give you a rundown on what you should be doing for your web dev homework assignment number 2. So what you see here, this is basically what your website should roughly look like when you're done with it. And I'm going to show you how to create this, and it does have a little bit of styling in there. Styling is not really a topic until next week, but styling helps us visualize these key components of a web page. So this is the web page we're going to do. Try to do it as simple as possible. Pause the video a lot if you're working along with me. Otherwise, let me go ahead and take a screen capture of this. Is my screen capture not working here? There we go. And basically, I'm going to put a picture of this in the homework directions, so that way you have a visual guide of the finished product. And let me just get it really close. Open in my image editor. There we go. So now I got a picture that I can put into the assignment directions. I'm going to move this picture off to the side to my other monitor so I can kind of eyeball it. Because what I'm going to do here with this page that I just created is I'm going to head to my code editor and I'm going to select everything in the markup and delete it. And that saves my page. Live reloaded. Okay, that's cool. I will put that in soon enough. Okay, well, what does this do to my web page though on my browser? Well, it blanks it out. Since there's nothing in my code, there's nothing to look at yet. So this is what I want you doing for your assignment web pages. Even though it seems like it would be a smart idea, it would be an easy idea just to open up a previous page and get to work that way, I want you to do stuff over and over again. I'm going to go ahead and type up the information in the head section. However, I think I'm going to speed up my recorder so that way you don't watch me type it all out. But I do want you to know I am typing it all out from scratch, and I'm not using Emmet or any other little features to autofill. And I'm doing this because I want you to do that. So go ahead and type along with me and get all of that main body or that main head section stuff that you need that you did back in your assignment 1 pages. There we go. So that is all of the stuff to start off our web page. Got a doc type definition. Got a little HTML up there. Opening HTML tag with language attribute. Then we start off in the head section. Character encoding meta. Title for our web page. Section of meta tags. A little comment in there. Comments are nice. Got the meta viewport for mobile friendliness. Got meta author. I've got my name in there. You'll have your name in there. And I put in a very brief meta description, just kind of what is the purpose of this particular web page. Now I do have this section here called internal styles, and certainly you saw me do this in class, but I want to take care of this here because it's going to allow us to see the parts of our web page, even though CSS is not going to be a topic until next week, or the official topic. But I promise you we're doing styles in every class and in every page we make. We'll just try to go super simple here. I may not explain much of the styling, but I'm going to want you to do what I do. And then, of course, once you see what I'm doing, I think the gears are going to start working and you'll be able to adapt and alter and change stuff. The body of the page is where stuff is really going to take place. By the way, my web page is still completely blank. Because there's nothing in the body, there's nothing for my browser to load up. So I'm going to start to create some sections. I'm looking over at my picture that I've got over here on my other monitor. Remember, I took a screen capture of the finished product, and I'm kind of letting that remind me of the things that I want to put on here. So I'm going to start to mark up the body of this page into key parts. I'm going to have a header. The header is different than the head section. It's very confusing, I'm sure. But yeah, so the head section goes above the body and it contains things like meta tags in the title of our page. The header kind of corresponds to a footer, And that's something that's kind of on the visible top of the page, often a top banner and stuff like that. Ooh, do I happen to have an example or something I can bring over really quick? Hey, actually, I kind of do. So here's a web page for the city of Valdez, Alaska. And you see they've got this dark gray section where their navigation is. That can be described as the header. And down at the bottom, let me click on this cookie, notice. Down here at the bottom where they have this copyright text, that would be part of the footer. So the header and the footer are in the visible body part of the page. They're generally at the very top and bottom accordingly, just like in a Word document, really, right? Okay, let's put that off over there. So within the header, I'm going to have my headline 1, and that's going to be my name again. Remember, the page that we're creating here, by the way, in fact, I didn't do this. I called it assignment 2, but in the assignment directions, I tell you to call it your index.html. That's really what I should have done. So you notice I've got this page here, index, that we created earlier as part of assignment 1. This assignment 2 is really going to be an adaptation of that. I'm still going to call it assignment 2 for now, and I'll just say at the end you can save it as index, and you can save over your old one if you haven't already done so. Okay, so we're doing good. I've got my headline 1 in there, and let's see. In addition to my headline 1, I'll just do a little paragraph. CIS 195, Web Development 1. Web Development. There we go. Take that out. That's going to kind of serve as a subtitle. I don't want to use an H2 for this. It seems like that would be right, but a headline 2 is not to be used as a subtitle for a headline 1. We're going to have one heading 1 per page. I know I say headline all the time, even though I think it's officially a heading, so bear with me on that. So this paragraph within the header is going to be our subtitle, but our headline 1 on the page is the one page title that people see. So that's the main thing right there. Cool, so that's our header section. Now after that, I'm going to create a nav section. Now the nav section, you're going to be developing too as part of this assignment, but it's going to contain a series of hyperlinks. Now, whenever I start to create a hyperlink and I don't know where I want to link to, I just create what I call a dummy link. So I do href equals hashtag, and this will just be hyperlink 1. Now, after this hyperlink, I'm going to do shift / to make a pipe symbol. And then I'm going to copy this and paste it a few times. I know I've told you a few times I don't want you to copy and paste, so pretend you didn't see me do that. And it would really tickle me pink if you typed them all out one by one just to get more practice there. I did type the other ones out earlier when I made this page a second ago. Yeah, so this is the second time I've made this page, so I'm getting a nice little repetition here. All right, so there's my nav. What you're going to do with this, I'm not going to do this part for you or with you, but you're going to create hyperlinks to other pages you've made so far. You made several web pages as part of your assignment 1 work, and I know they weren't fancy, but that's okay. They're still web pages. Even a basic web page is a web page, and you can do hyperlinks to those other pages. For instance, I've got a page called Participation 2B, which you've probably already seen the video for that. So I could link to that page. I've got my template1.html, and I've got my index, but I'm probably going to rename that index. In fact, I might do that now. Old index.html. So that's my old original index. Let me open up this. In fact, let me make sure I close out things that I don't want to get confused by. I'm going to open up my index here, File, Save As, and I'm going to call this my old index. My old boring index. Save. So that's my old index. And now I can go to assignment 2, File, Save As, and I can call this one index.html, because that's really what I have in the directions. Yes, I will replace that. So I think I'm in good shape now. So I've got my old index. That was the one I made before. Pretty boring there. Look at it. Just had a heading and a paragraph. Now we're getting fancy here because we're using these HTML5 semantic elements. Don't forget there's that resource from W3 Schools on semantic tags, semantic elements. And that's what we're using a lot here in this assignment. The header marks up that as the header section. This nav indicates that this is a navigation area, navigation menu. So I got my old index, and I don't have any other pages, it looks like. Okay, that's fine. We'll think of a couple extras we can put in there. Now, after my nav, I'm going to use another sectional element called main. So this is going to be my big main section. And my main section is going to have an article, another sectioning tag. So what are the difference between all of these various tags, especially ones that seem confusing, like main and article? I mean, header, all right, header's pretty self-explanatory. Nav is really self-explanatory. Footer makes sense. But what's the difference between main and article? There's also a section tag, literally S-E-C-T-I-O-N, a section tag. And I thought I might use that one, but I guess I'm not using that one in this page here. We're not using all the tags in this assignment. So there's main, there's article, there's section, and understandably, it's very confusing. Now, I'm using the main here to kind of mark up the main part of my web page that is not header, navigation, or footer. I know that seems a little bit simplistic, but yeah, so this is the main part of the page. It's going to contain all of the real content that people are here to read, not used to navigate or just see copyright text or something. So within this main, I'm creating what's called the article. Now, an article is almost like a main section, but an article, you should think of it as kind of like a magazine article or a blog post. An article would be a potentially independent chunk of your web page that could stand on its own. What does that mean? Well, within this article, I'm going to have a headline 2, and that's going to be my about me. And then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have a couple of paragraphs which serve as kind of like an autobiography. Now you're probably thinking, hey, I think I did a little bit of this before on assignment 1, because you probably made an about me page with some content. That's cool. You can use that same content and put it in here. Now we're using our index page to kind of unite all this content, which perhaps you created a little bit before on some separate pages. So in assignment 1, my goal was to have you do a little bit of repetition and make several really simple web pages to get practice with that. With this assignment, you're really just making one page and you're putting in structure and content to it. So you're spending more thought and effort on one page instead of on multiple smaller pages. Okay, so you're going to do a couple paragraphs about you. Now, in addition to that, inside of this About Me section, up here, I'm going to put in an image. Now, I'm going to come back to this image in a little bit. Images are a future topic, but I want you to be able to get a basic image in. It'll be a good example of file management skills and things like that. And web pages are just cooler with images. So I'll come back to that image in a little bit. So we've got your About Me, your image, a couple of paragraphs. Now, in addition, in this article, a headline 3, kind of a subsection of headline 2, you're going to have hobbies, interests. I don't need spaces around that, although I don't think spaces hurt. Yeah, I'll put spaces in. And then after that, you're going to have an unordered list, opening and closing UL tags. Unordered list is a bulleted list. And you're going to have a series of list items here. Ooh, I will show you one little trick. Don't tell anybody I showed you this, though. LI times 6. Enter. There we go. So in these, you're going to have a series of things about hobbies and interests that you might have, but they're going to end up being hyperlinks. So href equals hashtag hobby interest 1. And I know I'm going to do some copying and pasting here. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. I think in the directions, I'll probably just say, give me at least 4, 4 to 6 hobbies and interests. I'll come back to that in a little bit too. And for now, I'll just use this little dummy hyperlink. Remember, href equals hashtag. It's good for, it'll look like a hyperlink. It'll kind of work like a hyperlink, but it won't actually go anywhere. So you'll see me use those quite a lot in web pages. All right, that's pretty good. So now our article has some real content. And that's all we're going to put in the article. So an article, like I said before, kind of a freestanding independent chunk within the web page. So if I were just to take this whole article out of this page and put it into another page, it would have everything it needs. It's got its own little headline, it's got an image, it's got some paragraphs of text, it even has its own little subsection which goes along with it. So that's what I mean by an article is an independent little unit or container within your web page. Now after the article, by the way, sometimes people put this in the article, but I'm going to create an aside. An aside is kind of what it sounds like. It's extraneous. It's extra information on the web page that's not necessarily the main part of the web page. And in the aside, we're going to have our own headline 2. Why a headline 2, not a headline 3? Well, you only use a headline 3 when you are breaking up a section that already has a headline 2. So since I used a headline 2 in this article, the next heading that I had in here was a headline 3. I could have used a headline 2 again. If you have 2 heading 2s, that indicates they are of equal importance within that section. Well, the About Me is more important than the Hobbies and Interests part. So About Me gets a higher ranking heading than Hobbies and Interests. The Aside has a heading 2 because it's going to be the highest ranking heading within the Aside. Nothing gets a heading 1 though, except at the very top of the page right there. Only one heading 1 on that web page. Okay. And hey, mistakes will be made. I'll be looking at your pages and I'll remind you of these little things if I see a slip up. So within my aside, I'm going to have my cool websites. And after that, a little paragraph telling the user what these are. These are websites that have a cool look, layout that I'd like to be able to create for my own web pages, period. Oops, and then that's done with that paragraph. Now, after this paragraph, we're going to do something else. After this paragraph, we're going to create a definition list, a description list, okay? Description list, dialogue list, definition list. The description list is going to have DTs. These are going to be terms, kind of like an unordered list in a way, not a bulleted list though. And after each of those, we're going to have a DD. Gotta spell it right. Description term, description definition. And the description definition for now, I'll just have in some filler text. Now the term, since these are going to be cool websites, in the term, we're going to end up putting a hyperlink, href equals hashtag, and then this will be the name of a cool site. So yeah, the terms are going to have that, and then the descriptions are going to be the little description about that site. Now I'll do one of these later on too. You're not going to see me do them all. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And I think the only thing left for content is all the way down here with the footer. So with my footer, I just want you to at least be able to do an HTML entity. So I'm going to put in ampersand. Well, where's my ampersand? Why can I not do this? Well, my keyboard is blank. And you can see that clearly I haven't memorized where all the keys are. Ampersand, copy semicolon. Yeah, so for anybody who's a keyboard nerd, here's my keyboard. It's a DOS keyboard with a Cherry MX Blue mechanical switches. That's why it's so loud and clicky, which 50% of people find it insanely annoying, 50%, yeah, maybe I'm being generous, 5% think it's kind of cool to have a loud clicky keyboard. Most people think it's annoying. Okay, so copy, that's how you put a copyright symbol in there. So ampersand copy semicolon. You'll see a few more examples of entities as we go along, and then I'll just put in the year 2021. Excellent. All right, I think we're pretty good content-wise. How's my page looking now? Yeah, there it is. Come on, get over there. Refresh. Okay, Now clearly something is missing because I've done a lot of content. I've done more content than we see. Oh, look at my file name. I'm still looking at assignment 2. I need to be looking at index.html. Index.html. I'm just going to manually type it up there. I'm using live server, so I've still got my IP address up there, but I just type in that index.html and I can see on my page. Look at that. So everything's looking pretty good. Let's go and get that picture in there. So what I did before I started the recorder was I got a picture of me. I would like you to have a picture of you on your web page. If for some reason you don't have a picture or you don't want to put a picture of yourself on your web page, no worries. Put a picture that describes, something you're into that kind of gives me a sense of your personality. But I want to put a picture of me on there. So I took this picture and I moved it into my images folder, which is in my working folder, okay? So I want to have the pictures that I'm going to use within my web folder that I'm doing all my work in. So it's in my images folder. Now, if I go up to my working folder, there's all of my HTML files and things like that. So all my HTML files are in here. When I do style sheets, I haven't done any styles yet. They're going to ultimately be in my CSS and my styles folder. That's only if I do CSS files. And then my images, I've got a picture of me and I got a woman with white background. That was for another project that I was doing. You'll see a link to that later on where I was doing some kind of weird blurry reflection effect. But I'll show that to you later. Okay, so my picture, notice my picture is all lowercase and no spaces. That's important. And my picture is, I know where it's at. It's in my images folder. Cool. So that means I can go to my code and go find that image tag. There's my image tag. Source equals images / and then I can just select the picture I want. I could click on woman white background, put that picture in, and then now I got that woman with a white background. Or I can change this out to ralph.png, and there's me with a purple background, which is that background over there. All right, feeling pretty good about that. So I think for the most part, the key parts are done. Now, obviously I need to, fix hyperlinks, or you need to fix your hyperlinks and stuff. So what I want to do kind of last is I want to put in some basic styling so you can really visualize these parts. And I'll tell you a little bit about CSS as we go, but it'll make it easier to have an understanding of how these parts relate onto your web page. However, this is a plain old web page. It's got text, hyperlinks, and images. And that's what really all websites are made up of, except fancy professional websites have more text, more hyperlinks, and more images. We only have a little bit of any of those things. What makes them look different? It's the styling, Why does our page not look so different, not look as good as the City of Valdez website? Well, they've got styling on here. They've got this narrower column of text, this nice blue all caps heading. They've got this these blue hyperlinks over here. I bet you that's an unordered list. Nice little pictures and figures with fig caption text. It just looks cool. They got this semi-transparent background color on their heading. That looks neat. Nice nav with these cool little drop-down effects. Yeah, a lot of that's good. I will tell you though, by the time you get to week 7 and 8, you're going to understand how to make most of the stuff on here. There's always a few students that ask me how to do these drop-down menus, and even though it's not officially part of our class, I usually end up showing you how to make them. So we'll probably do that. It's a required skill in WebDev 2, but it'll be an optional skill in WebDev 1. Alrighty, so let's get some style. So for styling for this page, for this week, I'm going to do internal styles, which are going to be right in the head section of the web page. Normally we would put them on an external CSS file, but we'll deal with that in week 3. Okay, so for my internal styles, for the first thing, I just want you to just kind of watch what I'm doing and maybe do the same thing and see what's going on. Let's see, I didn't take a screen capture of my CSS, so we'll just do it the old-fashioned way and go from memory, making it look a little different. But ultimately, this is kind of like my goal, to make my web page look this way. Okay, so I'm going to write header, comma, nav, comma, main, comma, article, comma, aside, comma, footer. set of curly braces opening and closing. So you notice I didn't do angle brackets on these. I didn't do that intentionally because these are not tags. They're called properties. I'm sorry, that's wrong. They're called selectors. So I'm going to be using a few new terms that I don't want you to worry too much about, but yeah, you never know. So you might as well get warmed up to it, I guess. So these are called selectors. Now I'm going to do a property. My property is going to be border. 4 pixels, space, solid, space, 900, which is a color code for red, as you can see right there. Kind of a medium darkish red. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that my header element, my nav, my main, my article, my aside, my footer elements are all going to have a border. Well, how thick is this border? It's 4 pixels thick. Is it a solid border? Yeah, it is. What else could it be? It could be a, yeah, that's not right. It could be a dotted border. What color is this dotted border? Well, it's this medium red color. Come on, where's my web page? Is that my web page? Ah, there it is. I got too many pages open. All right, so there's my dotted border. I don't like that dotted border. So I'm going to head back over and I'm going to change this to a solid border. There we go. There's my solid border. And you can see all of my big key elements now have that solid border on there. Well, I'm going to do this too. New line. Oh, by the way, notice I did a little semicolon at the end. Sometimes, yeah, I forgot to mention that. Semicolon right there at the end. It's important. And now I'm going to do margin 12 pixels. Margin is the space outside of the border. So that's going to put a bunch of spacing outside of all of these elements. So there's these gaps there now. Now you see how close my text is to that border and how close my picture is to that border? Well, I can also do padding of 12 pixels. And that's space inside the border. Margin is space outside the border. Padding is space inside the border. There we go. So now there's space in there. Yeah, things are much more spaced out. Now I'm going to take my photo and I'm going to stick it all the way over on the right. So image, float right. There we go. Image is over on the right. Don't worry that it's spilling out of those borders. And I'm going to set the width of this image to be 350 pixels. Notice my use of my semicolons. Notice that sometimes I'm putting things on the same line, sometimes I'm putting them on the different line. That's just so I can keep confusing you. Doesn't hurt, doesn't matter. It could all be on its own line. There we go. Image may be a little smaller. All right, what else can we do with this? Well, let's see. I want my about me and my cool websites to be side by side. There's really some nice ways to do that, and I'm not going to show you the best ways to do it, but I'll show you a quick way to do it. I'm going to take my article and I'm going to float it to the left, and I'm going to set its width to be 65%. And then I'm going to take my aside and I'm going to float it to the right, and I'm going to make its width 25%. I know my 65% and 25% don't add up to 100. That's because I've got these margins on there, and so I don't want them to be 100. So just trust me on this one for now. I'll explain more later. And that's going to get those items side by side. Ooh, things are looking pretty messy here for a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to show you something else. I'm not going to explain it very well though. Main overflow hidden. Just type that, and it'll make a little bit more sense later on. We'll spend more time talking about it. Okay, so now I've got that look. Obviously got a different color there than I did before, but yeah, it's pretty good. I want to put a little bit more spacing in between these bullets, and maybe a little bit more spacing over here for these definition lists. You know what? I'm going to change the font for everything. Let's see. Let's head up here, and I'm going to create a rule right at the very top for the body. So I type the word body, and then I do my little telltale set of curly braces, and I'm going to write font family. Notice I'm doing the hyphen there, font hyphen family. I'm just going to write Verdana. That's going to change the font for everything on my web page. There we go. Refresh. Now it's quite a bit different. Yeah, it's looking pretty good to me. All right, what else can we do? Let's, I'm going to take my list items. List items, what are those? Well, remember earlier on, for my hobbies and interests, I made a series of list items, opening and closing list item tags, and that's where I'm getting my bulleted list from. So I'm going to go to those list items right up here, and I'm going to set margin bottom 12 pixels. Margin bottom 12 pixels, so just the margin on the bottom. And that's going to separate them apart, make them look a little more spaced out. Now, by default, we get disk bullets. Disks are filled in circles, but I'm going to change these to list style square, so they're little square bullets to go along with all my square boxes that I have on here. And I think over here, I'm going to separate these little doodads too. Those are my description terms, my DTs. With my DTs, I'm going to do a margin top of 16 pixels and a margin bottom of 8 pixels. So they're going to have more margin above the term, less margin below the term. How does that look? That looks pretty cool to me. Okay, just about done. Oh, by the way, these hyperlinks should work, right? I should be able to click on a hyperlink and go to my template 1, which is pretty blank and boring. Do I have anything that looks good? Hyperlink 1. Oh, that goes to my participation 2B. And then hyperlink 3 goes to my old index. Just clicking the back button there. And remember, I didn't do anything for hyperlink 4 and 5. But let me do one of my cool websites. I'm going to pick on good old City of Valdez. Do I still have it up there? I'll pick on Survivor. I have the Survivor page up. Had this open earlier for something, and I still haven't read through it. Let me just hit continue on there. All right, I like this page. I got a lot of cool stuff going on. So I definitely like that header. It's just got the lightest, most transparent background. In fact, it might even be a somewhat transparent gradient. I might have to play around with that later. Notice when I scroll to, the navigation menu sticks there. It's pretty easy to do, actually. There's a CSS property called Position Sticky. Position Sticky will do that. Yeah, it's a pretty neat effect. But anyway, that looks pretty cool. So I like that. So I'm going to include this. This is I'm going to grab the hyperlink for that. I'm going to head back to my code. And this is going to be one of my cool sites that I like. Where is it? Name of cool site. Ooh, actually, this is going to be the href. Paste. I'm going to put that there for the href, hyper reference. Of course, the name of my cool website is Survivor. Now, what I want you to put in here is a brief little description about what you like about the site, so it's clear to anybody who's looking at this page. It doesn't have to be super long. I'm saying, I really like the subtle, semi-transparent header at the top of the page. Yeah, just something like that. Doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to go find the coolest websites. Just find aspects of websites that you visit or that you know or that you stumble upon. You think, what? That one thing on that website, that looks good to me. I like how they do that. So now, when I go to my page, I'm now going to have that link to Survivor. And when I click on that hyperlink, it's going to take me to the Survivor website. And I'll click the back button. So I want you to do that for at least 4 to 6 different cool websites. Find some features on there that look good. Similar for hobbies and interests, except with hobbies and interests, we don't have any text describing it. So let's see. My hobbies and interests. I have a few. I'm not really devoted to anything super well, but there's a couple things I like. So at the very basic stuff, I like playing chess. What other nerd stuff do I like to do? I read. Haven't been writing much, but I like motorcycles, and I haven't been going to the gym and working out much lately. But I like exercise and just exercise. That's good. So there's a few hobbies that I've got, and then it's just a matter of, where do I want to link to for these things? Well, maybe for playing chess, I want to link to chess.com. So I'm just going to the website first, and I'm just going to grab the URL, copy, and then I'm going to paste that right into my href. Yeah, no rules here on this one on where you link to. Let's see, I like motorcycles. I like Honda motorcycles. I have a Honda motorcycle. So I'm going to look for Honda motorcycles. And there it is, Power Sports Honda. And I'm going to go to their street category. And do they have my bike here? There it is. That's what I've got. I've got a 700 though. That's now they're up to the 750. I guess 750X is the new one. I've got a 700X. Let's see. Can I click on that? I can. So now I've got this. I'm going to copy that address right up there, and I'll paste that in right there. Cool. For reading, what would I link to for my reading hobby? Deschutes Library. I'm a big fan of the Deschutes Library, so let me go find them. There's Deschutes Library, and I'm at their all resources area. That's fine. Copy that and paste. So that's the idea. That's what I'm looking for there. For exercise, maybe I could link to get a membership at that, what is it, Planet Fitness, something like that? Planet Fitness. I should probably know the name of the gym if I'm really that into it. Yes, I could do a link to that, but otherwise I'm in pretty good shape. So refresh. Oh, let's make sure I'm saving. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the wrong thing. I need to be looking at my hobbies over here on the left. There it is. So if I click on reading, it's going to go to the Deschutes Library. If I click on motorcycles, it's going to go to, there you go, the NC 750X. Looks good, looks good. All right, just do a couple more of those, and we are good for this page. There's probably a couple little other details I'm going to have in the assignment directions to take care of, but this is the bulk of that assignment too. So if you do this, you're going to have pretty much all of it done, and just pay attention to a couple little bullet points to take care of any of the rest. So thanks for hanging out with me, and yeah, I hope your page is working out. It's okay if there's things that are breaking. If you need to get my advice on something that you're working on, just get in touch with me via email is good, or we can Zoom or something like that. And early on, since our pages are pretty simply structured, often if you send me a screen capture of your HTML, then I can usually find where the mistakes are and spot that pretty easily. So the other thing we can do, before I let you go here, I'm going to open up a new browser page here. I'm going to go to validator.w3.org. Yeah, I want you to do this. Use these validators. I used to always be requiring students to use validators back in the olden days, but HTML language is much more forgiving than it used to be, but it's still kind of nice. So validator.w3.org. You can validate by file upload, which means it'll check your HTML and kind of pinpoint where mistakes might be. I'm going to click on validate by file upload. I think I'm in pretty good shape though. I'm going to choose file. I'm going to go to my docs. Oh, there's my COCC docs. Go to my demos. Go to my 121 or 195 Spring. And let's see, this is my index. Remember, I'm working on my index right now. I'm doing this on April 1st at 3:30 p.m. Looks good. Double click it and then check. And it'll see if there's anything wrong with it. Document checking completed. No errors or warnings to show. Well, what would it show if you had a mistake? Let's find out. Let me go into my page real quick. And I'm going to get rid of the slash on this heading 2. So look at this. I've got an opening heading 2 and then another opening heading 2. So that's a mistake right there. So my page is already saved, and I'm going to recheck. I guess I'll just have to choose file again. I'll get the index, check it. Ah, look at this. Actually, I'm glad I'm doing this here with you, because it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. The validator can point out multiple mistakes, yet you know that you saw me make just one mistake. So sometimes having one mistake can display like it's multiple mistakes. Don't be intimidated by that, okay? Focus all of your attention on mistake number 1 here. Heading cannot be the child of another heading. That's also confusing and hard to figure out. However, let it refer you to where the problem likely is, and that'll help you out. So it tells me on my line 72, maybe something to do with that other headline 2 after the word me. That's where the problem is. So even though it's not explicitly telling us what the mistake is, it points us in the right direction. Do not worry about problems 2, 3, and 4. Only worry about problem 1, fix problem 1, and then revalidate. So, okay, line 72. So there's my line 72. It's right there. And then you just stare at it for 5 minutes. And you look and see what could be wrong. And you stare at it longer, and if you can't tell what's wrong, you take a screen capture of this whole chunk right here, and you send it to me and say, Ralph, I stared at this thing for 10 minutes. I can't tell what's wrong. Can you see what's wrong? And I can say, yes, I can see what's wrong, and I'll tell you what's wrong. Early on in the term, I'll be very specific about telling you what's wrong. Later on, as we get through the term, I'll say, you have a problem on line 72, that kind of stuff. Or maybe I'll say, check all your tags on line 72 or something like that. So, all right, I just need to fix that. So I make that fix. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Let's correct this. H2. Yeah, this is VS Code trying to be helpful. Can't fault it for that. All right, so my headline 2 looks better. I've got opening tag, closing tag. Saved. I got autosave on anyway. Back over here. Remember, I don't worry about problems 2, 3, and 4. I fix 1, and then I recheck. Index. Check. Yay! Now it's green. Cool. All right. So that's all I want to show you. So there's our page for assignment 2. Thanks for hanging out with me.